I
All right,
think
it's 9:50. Let's go.
no, we're actually already live right now. But I'm just saying, it's like that tops anything we could possibly talk about this episode. It's just. I feel talking about the movie is going to be so underwhelming now.
Oh, I got a new video, a new Twitch video.
Oh no, is it not? Is it more fish?
Fish shooting Uzis.
Oh, how appropriate!
Here, take it.
How appropriate! How
Oh.
appropriate!
Okay.
Did you hear that Amazon bought Twitch?
Yes.
Why would they want Twitch?
They don't even have the money for it, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's good. That's the best time to buy something.
It's like 970 million, right?
Yep.
You don't think Amazon has 970 million?
No. From what I hear, they're breaking even from what their core business is, but they're not like a Google or anything.
Okay.
But they're trying to get as many developers or as many software programs that are popular out there to build up their library, I guess.
Wow.
The issue is that Twitch is eventually going to hit the snag when it comes to copyright. And I think YouTube knew it was about to get into that trouble and didn't want any part of it.
That's right.
But to be honest, if YouTube really wanted to start a video game version of YouTube, they could.
But
That's
Twitch
true.
already has the market. I mean, you'd have to win.
You're getting Twitch for the name.
Right.
But YouTube is well known. If YouTube has their own or anything like that, they could do pretty well. I mean, look at this. We used Skype before. Now we're on Google Plus.
Well, that's because Skype started being stupid.
Yeah.
But let's go.
Yep.
Let's get this going.
All right.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, we've
9:51.
already been live here for a few minutes. But anyways, hello everybody out there. Welcome to another episode of That Film Podcast. I'm your host David Weaver, and joining me as usual are Brian Salazar and James Blunt. This week we're going to have a review for Sin City: A Dame to Kill For, the movie that apparently nobody wanted to see.
Spoilers.
What?
Spoilers to the top 12.
But anyways, yeah, it's gonna be it's going to be, and we're actually shooting for this to be our shortest episode ever. So let's see if we can do it. So let's get things started right here. Brian, top 12.
Hit the music. Number 12, Boyhood with 1.6 million. Number 11, Lucy with 3.4 million. Number 10, Into the Storm with 3.8 million. Number 9, The 100-Foot Journey with 5.3 million.
It's not
Number
a
8,
robot.
and our movie of the week, Frank Miller's Sin City: A Dame to Kill For, 6.3 million. Number
Oof.
7, The Giver, 6.4 million. Number 6, Expendables 3 with 6.48 million. Number 5, When the Game Stands Tall, oh boy, 8.3 million. Number 4, Dave's favorite movie, and me being the devil for not recommending it, Let's Be Cops with 10.8 million. Number 3, yes, I listened to the podcast. Number 3,
kinda
Empire
figured.
Day with 15.6 million. Number 2, Dear God Help Us, everybody, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with 16.7 million. And
Wow.
number 1, and again, it was last week, it was number 2, and this is the 4th week, is Guardians of the Galaxy with 17.2 million. I'm going to request for the summer movie draft, because we're going to segue into that, that we stall this until maybe next year, just to see what Guardians of the Galaxy ends up with.
Oh God!
I think I could
It's
win
not
this.
It's not going to be like Frozen. It's not going to keep going.
And that's the top 12 for this week.
So going over into the summer movie draft, Guardians of the Galaxy became the biggest movie of the summer this past weekend. It's at 252 million, and that's more than any other movie. I think number 2 is Transformers with 244 million. And this week, I mean, this race is over. I am way out ahead at this point.
Did Sin City pull it out for me?
That's a good segue, Dave. Let's talk about the movie of the week.
Well, just to wrap that up in a bow, I've got
You're winning, James. Okay, we get it.
I've got $1.3 billion. I've got like 1,346,000,000,000. Million, I mean, and you guys are not yet at 1.1, so there's no way. I mean, it's
Yeah.
over, and
Yeah.
we got a couple weeks to go, or maybe a week or so, but that's it.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap that up in our summer wrap up episode here in a couple weeks, so stay tuned for that. But basically, yeah, James won if you want the short of it. But like Brian was saying, we should I guess we should move forward here and talk about our movie of the week, the one that really underperformed. Well, by the way, in case you haven't been able to tell, there is no news this week, so we're jumping straight into our movie. Quickest ever we've ever done this. So let's talk about our main film this week, Sin City: A Dame to Kill For. We didn't discuss who was going to go first on this, so I don't know. Unless you guys have any arguments, I will go first on this.
Well, Dave, you can go first, but I just want to say something real quick, which is that I had no memory of the original Sin City, and about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I noticed that it was on like Showtime or something like that, so I DVR'd it. And I watched it over this weekend. I watched it like Friday or Saturday, something like that. And for me, it was kind of necessary because I think I would have been lost in A Dame to Kill For if I hadn't watched the first one again. And what about you guys? Did you have a memory of the first one, or did you rewatch it, or anything like that?
Someone told me this movie was going to be a prequel.
That's what people told me. It is so not a prequel.
It's kind of a prequel and a sequel.
What?
Well, okay.
Because the timelines overlap.
Yeah, because there's a main character in this who is dead. He was killed in the first movie.
Right.
And he's alive in this movie. So
he's not really alive, though.
What do you mean he's not really alive? He's alive through the entire thing.
Yes, he is. Brian's not thinking of the right person.
Talking about Mickey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't realize he died in the first one.
Yes.
Talking about Bruce.
Honestly, almost everybody died in the first one.
Okay. Well, honestly, so I mean, just to answer your question, also, James, I did rewatch it.
Yeah.
I rewatched the original, but that is probably one of my big problems with this new movie is the timelines seem kind of like screwy. Like certain things don't really line up or add up for me while I was watching the movie because I was sitting trying to place in my head like where the character like Marv is in all of this, and I was like, it's like why is like he's with Nancy at this point, but where was he with Nancy in the other movie? Like certain things didn't feel like they fell into place together, and that was really messing with me as I watched the movie because the movie isn't really good at explaining what timeline you're exactly on. You have to kind of figure it out for yourself, and that didn't really work out too well.
Well, I mean, if you watch the first one, then near the end of the movie, when characters who have already died come back, then you realize that the timelines kind of overlap. Like you're not watching it sequentially. You're kind of watching a story all the way through, but then when you go to the next story, you realize that it's either before or after the story you just watched.
Yeah, I got that. I understood what they're doing, and it worked for me in the first movie. But watching this one, I had a hard time placing where certain characters were in accordance with where they were in the first film, which is a huge problem for a movie, for any movie, let alone a movie that's almost 10 years late.
Exactly.
So, but I don't know. Brian, did you rewatch the original, or did you just go into this one blind?
Well, I didn't. I watched the original a long time ago, but this one I don't remember the original, and I didn't rewatch it because I thought, okay, it's a prequel. So I didn't even show my wife this original because I figured, okay, it's a prequel. We'll watch the second one afterwards. I don't know if it's just people saw Willis and said, okay, I guess this is a prequel, but yeah. So I had to explain some things afterwards. But I totally forgot that Mickey's character was dead in the first one.
He got electrocuted. When you remember, he got arrested, and then they put him on death row.
And they also did they also did a somewhat poor job of informing you that the Josh Brolin character eventually turns into the Clive Owen character.
Although when you watch the original Sin City at the outset.
Wait, the Josh Brolin character turns into the what?
The Clive Owen from the first film. They're the same person.
Right, Brian.
Wait. So you're telling me that parts of this movie is a prequel to the original?
Yes.
Yes.
Fuck.
And,
Mind blown.
that's what I'm saying.
So
the
they didn't have the
timeline-
same actor, and you're supposed to know by the name of the character.
Well, that's what I'm been trying to get to for the last few seconds. Is that when you watch the original Sin City and you're introduced to the Clive Owen character, even though it's a brand new, like that was the first movie, people say to Clive Owen like, "You've changed your face, but I still recognize you," or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then now watch A Dame to Kill For, and you see that he gets messed up and he ultimately starts having plastic surgeries, and you realize that is the character that Clive
Oh my
Owen
God.
ends up in.
And something that would have helped with that is had they had Clive Owen come back to reprise the role after he changed his face.
After he changed his face, exactly.
But apparently there were scheduling conflicts with his new show, The Nick, so he was unable to film it. But apparently they planned on that, and I think they
waited
really
9 years already. Wait for Clive
Yeah.
Owen to get back.
Exactly. They needed him to
What is
back
he?
up.
The character with the plastic surgery is in what? Maybe 10, 15 minutes of the movie? Like you can wait for
Exactly.
Clive Owen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just do the Mama Soprano.
The floating head.
Yes.
The digital floating head.
Yes. But anyways, how
I
about
totally
Eva
agree,
Green's
Dave.
boobs? They were pretty awesome.
So this woman was nude about 90% of her scenes.
Yes. That's nothing new for her. She's nude in a lot of stuff she does. And I'd say she's actually been more nude in other movies she's done.
Someone made a funny
What do you
comment
mean by
on-
more nude? It was almost like her character didn't own clothes.
No, I mean like full body.
Oh, you mean like-
genitalia type
Yeah.
stuff? She's gone over the deep end before. So
Someone made a comment online saying that it's funny how Eva Green is so nude in this movie, but Jessica Alba, who's the stripper or any stripper in this movie, is not nude one bit.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, I remember having that conversation 9 years ago.
But I mean, it's pretty much she doesn't want to do a nude scene, which I understand and respect. But then you just
Then
find
don't
another
cast her.
actress. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
The stripper who doesn't strip. That's awesome.
But no, the
That's
strippers that are also work there don't strip.
That's true. They don't.
That is
They
true.
just go out there and they dance. That's it.
And the guys are this is like the sleaziest town ever, and the guys are satisfied with strippers who don't strip.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have women outside walking around nude.
Somehow I was actually okay with that in the first film. I don't know why it bothered me in this one. I don't know what it was. There was a lot of things I was okay with in the first film that bothered me in this one.
I think because in the first film you didn't spend so much time in the strip club, so to me it wasn't as noticeable.
It was like a central hub this time, huh? It was like
Yeah.
everybody went there.
Yeah. it was it kind of in the way that that City with the Women. Well, what's that city called?
Old Town?
Old Town.
Mm.
The way that Old Town is like the central city in the first movie, the strip club is the central location in this one.
Hmm. Okay.
So anyways, my favorite part, or my favorite story, since it's kind of a creep show-ish type storyline, is the Joseph Gordon-Levitt storyline. I thought that was pretty awesome.
I enjoyed that too. I thought it ended somewhat abruptly.
That's the same
Maybe-
here.
That's what my wife said. She got upset with what happened to him, which, kind of came out of nowhere. But I think in if you think about it, it was just a way to make that guy look really bad. The Powers Booth Senator Rourke character. I think it was just a way to say he's the ultimate bad guy, and you want revenge on that guy.
But you've been following Joseph Gordon-Levitt or Johnny. You've been following Johnny the whole movie, and then they just like dismiss him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they never really set up exactly what his plan is. I always felt like he has some sort of master plan
His
he's
plan was
trying to do.
horrible.
Yeah, it was like, really? When he explained everything at the poker table, I was like, that's what you've been planning this entire time. It's like, it didn't make any sense. Especially for somebody that was supposedly as smart as him. Or I guess he really wasn't smart. He was lucky.
He had like a superpower.
Yeah, he was able to he had the lucky roll the dice, so to speak.
What do you guys think of the 3D?
I thought it was okay.
Yeah, it was all right.
I thought it made the visuals pop a little, but it wasn't as... The effect wasn't as much 3D as I was expecting.
I just remember the original one popping as well without the 3D.
I see.
Yeah.
But overall, I think that even if I don't remember the first one, I think I had a better time watching the first one. I think the storyline and the bad guy character, the yellow guy, were pretty awesome in that first one. That's what I remember. And this one, it seems a very short version of Sin City. It didn't seem like a long movie. This one, it just seemed like, a Cliff Note version, if you will.
When I was watching, I was like, okay, this looks like Sin City. It feels like Sin City, but there felt like compared to the first movie, like there was something missing. Like there was some sort of spark missing that was there in the first one that wasn't there for this one, and I still can't really place my finger on what was it about this movie that just didn't have the impact on me. I don't think it's the look of the film. I mean, some people have said that, we've been there, done that, so the movie's more reliant on its stories this time, which are far inferior to the first movie. But I don't know. I think there's something else that was off about it that I still just can't really verbalize yet. But
I said, if I had not watched the first movie directly before I saw this movie, I could see myself almost hating this movie, or at least being very lost.
Yeah.
But then the fact that I did watch the first movie, it helped me enjoy this more. I did not dislike this movie, but there was something very specific that I did dislike about the movie, even though I didn't dislike the movie as a whole. And that specific thing is that in the first, like I said earlier, in the first movie, practically all of the main characters end up dying at some point. And like I said, you go back and forth in time. So even though they die here, you might still see them later. Kind of a Pulp Fiction thing. But then in this movie, for those characters that existed in the original movie, you know that they're not going to die because they have to make it to the next movie. And so there wasn't that tension for me with those characters. With the Marv character, and then Hartigan is Bruce Willis is reprising his role from The Sixth Sense, really. And then there's Powers Booth, who he's going to make it to the next movie. So all of that stuff, that was just really anticlimactic for me. You're just kind of waiting and seeing how it plays out. Then the other characters that they introduced, like Christopher Maloney, who was the tortured cop who was under Eva Green's spell, and Jeremy Piven was almost a throwaway character.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed the Josh Brolin stuff, and then the Ray Liotta stuff. I enjoyed that scene too. But altogether, it didn't mesh as well as the original movie meshed. I felt like each of the separate components of the first movie really went well together, and this, you're just kind of sitting there waiting to see what's going to happen next.
I almost felt like they picked the A-list stories for the first movie, and then they're like, oh, people actually kind of like this. We should make another one. Well, all we got left are these stories here on the floor, on the cutting room floor. Well, let's throw those together and put them in a movie. The stories just weren't as intriguing this time as they were the first time. So, I don't know.
And I have not read A Dame to Kill For. The first movie was very faithful to the graphic novel. If this movie was faithful to the graphic novel, what do you think about that? I mean, is it just that the material isn't that great?
I guess so. I mean, and the Nancy story, which is the final the style Jessica Alba story. I read that story was actually an unfinished story that Frank Miller never actually published.
Good boy.
That's actually something that he finished just for the film.
I see.
So, and when I read that, and I go back and I think about the Nancy story, it felt very undercooked compared to the other stuff. And I actually think that was the wrong story to end the film on, because when that story ended and the movie ended, I was kind of left with like an empty feeling, like that's it.
Same here. But the movie gives you that feeling too often. I think that's why it doesn't succeed. Now, the reason it didn't draw money, why there was no box office, is just because it's 9 years later. Like the interest that they completely lost their market.
And I want to say, even when I went back and watched the first film, I'm surprised that movie made the money it did. Like the $75 million at the time. Like, I think that was almost purely based off of the look of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people, if they go back and watch it now, they're probably... I mean, I still enjoyed it as much as I did the first time, but I think there will probably be a significant number of people that watch it again and are probably underwhelmed by it at this point.
Well, but see, it was practically the first of its kind, because this was an adaptation of a graphic novel, and it was really stylized to look like that graphic novel. There are a lot of like iconic scenes that they just kind of paste in front of you in that movie. And since then, we've seen that type of thing a lot. Like Scott Pilgrim is very much like this kind of style, even though it's not black and white. Like, this has been redone enough times now that it's not special anymore.
Yeah, they should have found some new visual trick or visual way to bring the film to screen to help it differentiate itself from its predecessor and all the stuff that came after it.
Right.
But did either of you guys feel the immense loss of Michael Clarke Duncan while watching this movie?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like Dennis Haysbert, I think he did an okay job with the role, but man, watching this movie, I really missed that guy.
Absolutely.
I keep thinking Allstate.
That's awesome.
He's going to sell me some insurance in this movie.
Insurance for missing eyeballs.
Well, yeah, I like that they showed how he lost his eye.
Yeah, but
minute.
Yeah, it's also telling that you wait so long to make your sequel that you have to start recasting people because they died, or you can't include some people because they died.
They died or they're unavailable, like Clive Owen. I mean, they did this to themselves.
Yeah. It's really strange, too, because Robert Rodriguez is known for being able to turn around a film like in record time. So it's really strange that it took 9 years for them to do this. I don't really understand it, but
see, I had this debate with someone at work. I feel at this point it was too late. Like perhaps you wanted to make a Sin City, a second Sin City movie, but after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, comes a point where you say, okay, we missed the window, and we just can't do it at all. And I think they were at that point here.
Yep. I agree.
So we're basically saying see it maybe if you're a Sin City fan in the theater, if not wait?
I would say don't even see it in the theater. I'd say this is strictly a rental.
I say, without a shadow of a doubt, watch the first one first. And then, and then if you are a huge fan of that movie, then, well, okay, let's be real now. It opened to what, 6th or 7th place? So we're looking at like 3 weeks in the theater. So so if you're listening to this, it's probably borderline too late to see this, because you have to go see the first one first, and then you have to try to catch this.
Yeah, the theater's already packing us up to ship back to the studio right now.
Exactly. So I mean, so this is a rental. I think we're agreed on that. It's a rental.
Yeah.
It'll be on video in like a couple weeks, anyways.
That's what I'm saying. Amazing Spider-Man was the first movie of the summer. Summer is not over, and it's on DVD. So Sin City is, a couple months out.
Crazy.
Tops.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh well. Okay. Oh, wow. So I guess this did end up being our shortest episode ever.
We banged it out.
All right. I'm
That's how
happy
it should
about
have always been.
Okay. So yeah, that this is gonna be. I mean, summer's over, so our next episode's gonna be our summer movie wrap up. This coming up week, there's not really anything coming out of any significance, so we're gonna be skipping that week. But we'll be back probably in about 2 weeks with our summer wrap up episode where we finalize the draft and we go over the movies that came out this past summer, and we'll also have another announcement to make on that next episode that you're definitely going to want to hear. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess we're free to end this. So, like usual, check out the website lightsremoteaction.com. Catch any of our past episodes on there, either through our YouTube channel or through our podcast, which can be found on iTunes for that film podcast. Yeah, we'll be back in a couple weeks with our thoughts on the summer movies of 2014. So yeah, until then, everybody out there, take care. Have a good couple weeks.